This episode of the Burnout Recovery Podcast is brought to you by MEGA, your medical indemnity partner. Whether you're starting out in your career or have decades of experience, MEGA helps you thrive with support that goes beyond insurance. Enjoy travel benefits like complimentary travel insurance and Qantas points on your membership, plus education, medico-legal support, access to career coaching and wellbeing resources. Visit mega.com.au to learn more. Insurance issued by Medical Insurance Australia, which has not taken into account your objectives or situation. Before you make any decisions about our policies, please read our PDS and consider your needs. Call us for a copy or visit mega.com.au.
Welcome to the Burnout Recovery Podcast, a guiding resource dedicated to healthcare professionals on their journey to overcoming burnout. Spearheaded by Dr. Joe Braid, a certified professional coach and rehabilitation physician.
Welcome back to the Burnout Recovery Podcast. I'm Dr. Joe Braid, and if you're listening as this podcast episode drops in the first week of December 2025, I see you. I see you feeling a bit crispy at the end of this calendar year. I see you wondering if you're the only one struggling to keep it together while everyone else seems to be thriving. Well, I have some news for you that might surprise you, and it's actually going to give you hope. Today, we're talking about the 70% Club and why the latest burnout statistics don't depress me. They actually fill me with optimism. Stick with me for the next 12 minutes and I'll show you why being part of this club isn't something to be ashamed of and what you can do about it. So let me start with a story. I am in various different medical locations, as you may be aware, and during one of my tea breaks, a range of different healthcare professionals came up to me separately, a senior nurse, a physiotherapist, and one of our trainee doctors. And each whispered a sort of version of, I think I'm burning out, but I don't want anyone to know. And I thought, what if I told them they just joined one of the biggest clubs in healthcare? Because here's the thing. The latest data from the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners shows that 69% of general practitioners are experiencing burnout. But this isn't just a GP problem. Similar patterns are emerging across all healthcare disciplines. Welcome to the 70% Club. Population, most of us in healthcare. Now, you might be thinking, Joe, how is this hopeful? This sounds terrible. But here's why this statistic gives me hope and why it should give you hope too. First, it means you're not broken. When 70% of people in healthcare are experiencing the same thing, that's not a personal failing. That is a system issue. It's like if 70% of people got food poisoning at the same restaurant. We wouldn't say, wow, 70% of people have really weak stomachs. We'd say, oh, there's something wrong with that kitchen. The healthcare kitchen needs some serious attention. And finally, people are starting to notice. But here's the really hopeful part, and this is where the data gets interesting. In this large survey of GPs with results produced this year in 2025, despite 69% of GPs experiencing burnout, 71% are still satisfied with their job. So let that sink in for a moment. We can be burned out and still find meaning in what we do. We can be struggling and still love helping people. And this tells me that burnout isn't about not caring anymore. It can be one feature, but it's about caring a lot in a system that makes it really hard to care sustainably. And this week I'm presenting at the Australian Doctors Health Conference, and I'm really talking about our empathy reserves being like a battery. It does wear down with time, and we need to find spaces and places and practices to renew the energy in our empathy and also compassion batteries. So I see this pattern across lots of different healthcare disciplines, nurses who love nursing but hate the system, physios who are passionate about rehab but frustrated with caseloads, surgeons who love operating but are drowning in paperwork. And here's another hopeful statistic. 47% of GPs would recommend the profession to future doctors, and that's up from 44% last year. So even in the midst of widespread burnout, there's more optimism about the field of general practice. And maybe this is because we're finally talking about it. So let's talk about what is driving this burnout across healthcare, because understanding the why can help reduce and get rid of any shame you might notice. The number one challenge identified in this report is increasing complexity. For GPs, 68% cited increasing complexity of patient presentations, and this resonates across healthcare. My husband, who's an orthopedic surgeon, and I often talk about this. His patients aren't just coming in with simple fractures during a week on call. They're coming in with multiple comorbidities, complex social situations, and mental health challenges layered on top of their physical injuries. And if you're a nurse, you're seeing this too. Patients with more complex needs, shorter stays, higher acuity. If you're a physio, your patients might have multiple conditions requiring different approaches. And if you're in mental health, the presentations are more complex, the waiting lists longer, and the needs are greater. Then there's the administrative burden. 77% of GPs are dissatisfied with their admin load, and that's up from 70% last year. But let's be honest, this isn't unique to GPs. Whether you're documenting in electronic health records, completing insurance forms, writing reports, or navigating approval processes, we are all drowning in paperwork that takes us away from actual patient care. And the emotional load is increasing. GPs report that 71% of their patients present with psychological issues as a primary concern. But mental health challenges don't stay in neat professional silos. Across the board, we need to provide maybe more emotional support than previously. Physical pain is intertwined with anxiety and depression. And surgeons are managing not just the technical aspects of the procedures, but the psychological preparation and recovery of increasingly anxious patients. So when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel like you can't keep up, when you feel like you're failing, remember you're not failing. You're trying to do an increasingly complex job in a system that maybe is catching up or hasn't yet caught up with the complexity that we deal with every day. So here's where we get practical, because knowing you're in the 70% club is just the beginning. The question is, what do we do about it? So let me give you some strategies that work both personally and professionally using my 4 pillars of burnout recovery: mindset, movement, sleep, and support. Starting with mindset, the most powerful mindset shift you can make right now is moving from thoughts like I'm broken to I'm normal. When you catch yourself thinking I should be handling this better, remind yourself I'm part of the 70% club, and that's exactly where I should be given the current system. So when you're having a tough day, remember you're not alone, you're not weak, you are a human working in a challenging, complex system. With movement, here's where imperfect consistency comes in. You don't need to run marathons. The data shows that even small, consistent movement makes a difference. Remember, your brain loves consistency over intensity. So whatever that might be for you, here's a suggestion: the transition walk. Whether you're moving between wards, departments, into clinic, out to home visits, into nursing homes, the whole range of places we might work as a healthcare professional, use those moments mindfully. Maybe take a few extra steps, breathe deeply, and let your body signal to your mind that you're in this transition phase. Sleep. This is crucial, especially as we head into the holiday season. The research is clear that sleep consistency matters more than sleep duration for shift workers. I did a recent episode which expands on this. Pick 1 4-hour block that you can sleep consistently. That's called the anchor sleep method, even on your days off. And this gives your circadian rhythm something to hold on to, whether you're doing night shifts, on-call rotations, or irregular schedules. And support. Wow, support is such a foundational pillar for us personally and professionally. And I hope from last week's podcast episode, you're more aware of the different support systems you have around. Here's a professional strategy that can work across all disciplines. Start a 70% club conversation at work. Literally, in your next team meeting, handover, or coffee break, mention these statistics. Say something like, I read that about 70% of healthcare workers are experiencing burnout. I wonder if we could talk about what that looks like for our team and what we might do to support each other. You'll be amazed how quickly people open up when they realize they're not alone. Now, let's talk about professional strategies you can implement in your workplace regardless of your discipline. First, normalize the conversation. Make it visible that burnout is a widespread issue, not a personal failing. Secondly, implement micro-recovery moments between patients, procedures, or assessments. You could be taking 3 deep breaths. That's it. 3 breaths. It takes 30 seconds and it really helps reset your nervous system. Third, practice compassionate boundaries. You care deeply about your patients and protect your energy. Try saying, I care about giving you the best outcome and I want to make sure I can give you my best care. Let's focus on the most important priority right now. Fourth, create a reality check, partnerships with colleagues. So pair up with someone from your discipline or even from another department and agree to ask each other regularly, how are you really doing? Not the polite version, the real version. And fifth, how can you advocate for systemic change? When 70% of us are struggling, that's not individual weakness. That's evidence for policy change, workflow improvements, and resource allocation. Your voice matters whether you're speaking up in team meetings, professional organizations, or management discussions. So as we wrap up today, I want you to remember something important. The 70% club isn't a club that you need to escape from immediately. It's a club that validates your experience and connects you with the majority of your healthcare colleagues who understand exactly what you're going through. Whether you're a doctor, nurse, allied health professional, or any other healthcare worker, you're part of a community that cares deeply about helping others. The goal isn't to pretend burnout doesn't exist or to push through it with toxic positivity. The goal is to acknowledge it, normalize it, and then take small, consistent steps towards recovery while we work on fixing the bigger system issues. Remember, imperfect consistency beats perfect inconsistency every time. You don't need to implement all these strategies perfectly. Pick one, try it for a week, see how it feels, then maybe add another. You're not broken, you're not weak, and you are not alone. You're part of the 70% club, and that club is full of caring, dedicated healthcare professionals who are doing their best in a challenging system. And here's the most hopeful part. By talking about it, by normalizing it, by supporting each other across disciplines, we're already starting to change things. The statistics show we're becoming more optimistic about our professions, even in the midst of widespread burnout. That tells me we're resilient, we are adaptive, and we're not giving up. So welcome to the 70% Club. Membership comes with validation, community, and the knowledge that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And from here, we recover together. That's a wrap on today's episode. If this resonated with you, please share it with a colleague who might need to hear they're not alone, whether they're in your discipline or in another part of healthcare. You can find me at drjobraid.com or on Instagram at burnoutrecoverydoctor or LinkedIn. Remember, recovery happens in connection, not isolation. Until next time, be kind to yourself. You're doing better than you think. Cheers. Ready to take the next step in your burnout recovery journey? Visit drjobraid.com for free resources, all 150 plus podcast episodes, and information about my keynote speaking. Links are in the show notes. Your well-being matters. Protect the asset that is you. Be your best you. Rely on MEGA for your protection and support, serving doctors for over 125 years through insurance, education, medical legal advice, and member benefits designed to help you thrive and succeed. Insurance issued by Medical Insurance Australia, which has not taken into account your objectives or situation. Before you make any decisions about our policies, please read our PDS and consider your needs. Call us for a copy or visit mega.com.au.